couple of minutes, and then I get a message from the YouTube side saying there was an error, and they killed my stream. So I think they're blacklisting me now. I don't know why. It's okay. I might be switching everything over to Rumble. Who knows? I do have a Rumble. I just haven't set it up on the streaming app yet. Suppose I should probably take the time to do that tonight when I park, huh? So they're going to convoy into DC on the 4th. All right. Too bad I won't be there. I have other commitments that have me locked into the West Coast for the 4th of July. maybe you're hearing the fan that is blowing on the phone to keep it from overheating. No, the window is not down. The window is not down. Here, I'll put the window down. There's with the window down. Oh, I'll bet I know where the static's coming from. Hang on. There you go. No more static. How's that? Did that fix the static? I don't know. Morning, everybody. Morning, Doris. Morning, Steve. Morning, everybody. We are now in Idaho. In a little bit, we'll be going through Nampa. And then Boise. Well, it's Nampa, then Caldwell, then Boise. So right now I am roughly 29 miles from Nampa. In your own neighborhoods, anything special, you know? You guys have little festivals coming up in your towns. You know, what's the news? What do you have to share? You're thinking the same as me, Jen. That's why I had to ask. I'd like some clarification. Oh, and Jen, by the way, not only did I try to call that person a few times this morning that we were talking, I sent a text message when he has a chance. So we'll see what pans out. I'm still waiting for Santa to call me. He said he'd call me back. He never has. I know he's really busy, but you know, I have something extremely important to talk to him about. Anybody at the end, near the last of them there, you pretty much hear what I had to say about certain things. And, you know, I didn't disclose everything, but there are some things that still need to be told to Santa so that he and the 1776 Restoration Movement are aware. he would call me back. He just hasn't had the time, I know. Stacks of plywood on his truck. That's an expensive load right now, isn't it? How much is wood a square foot now? Just because you said it, and just because somebody's plastered information out over the internet, do you really believe it? Do you know? Were you there? Here's the problem I see with that. I can make up any documents I want and post them to the internet. And then I can make other documents that say the exact opposite of those things and you getting the information. Should never trust anything 100% from the internet, and just like you should never trust anything from the TV 100% either. That little idiot box is between the internet and the idiot box. There is your brainwashing material right there. The people that control everything can easily tell you what to think, what to believe, how to feel, what you need to buy, what you need to own, what you should have and what you shouldn't have. All these people out here will just bow down and follow it. Brainwashing 101. Okay, maybe they're reformed. Maybe they'll never do that again. How do you know? You don't. And you know what? I know a few people that got put on that stupid name. I know they actually didn't do what they were accused of doing. And they actually ended up in prison for X amount of time until they were finally acquitted on an appeal. Yet they still have to be on the registry, even though they were finally proven innocent, because it takes another several $1,000s and a whole nother legal battle to get off of that stupid thing. So do you really know? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Is he in your neighborhood right now? That's the only thing you should really worry about when it comes to stuff like that. Do you know? I mean, it's like the kid. It's like a kid who went and robbed a convenience store when he was a kid, and he did his time, and he comes out, and he lives his life, and 40 years later, 40 years, he's never done a thing wrong since, right? In that 40 years, but some people are still beating him down and looking at him like, holy crap, you are this, and we don't want you in this job, or we don't want you in this apartment complex, or we don't want you in our neighborhood. What right do you have? Your God and your Bible tell you it is not your place to judge. So how Christian are you being when you do that? You're not. And I'm sorry if I just offended anybody. thought it was real. And then, a couple days later, here he is being arrested for having been with a 15-year-old. So is it his fault or is it her fault? Should he be forced to be on a sex registry when she was running around with a fake ID that nobody could tell was fake? She's the one that decided to go into that. And you know what? The people pressing the charges wasn't her. It's her parents. So, can you really judge people? You can't. Your Bible tells you you're not even supposed to. Because it's not your job to judge. It's God's job to judge, right? Now, it's enough of that conversation. I'm done with that. It's on your end. So all you have to do is grab the little red line, slide it one way, and slide it back to the end again. It should fix your buffering problem. Either that or find a better signal area for you. Because right now it's telling me I've got 2,500 kilobytes a second. I'm not in the red, so it should not be buffering. You don't even get into the red until you drop down below 900 kilobytes a second. I was right the first time. Those are 2x4s. Could have been either. Could have been 2x4s, or it could have been sheets of plywood. But it's clearly marked 2x4. That's still an awful lot of wood. Convicted, even though that never happened. Right? I mean, a lot of times it could be that scenario. A lot of times it could be any kind of scenario. But when somebody decides to get vindictive to somebody else over petty BS, they're apt to say anything. I've been in those kinds of situations before, not regarding sex or anything, but where somebody got so mad about something, they started slinging mud everywhere they could and brought legal problems to my front door. And I'm like, yeah, no. That's another reason why I live stream almost all the time, is because when things are going to happen out here, I want it to be live. I want people to see what's really going on instead of just finding out after some court battle that, well, this guy got convicted of this. You don't know. And it's not your place to judge. Such a thing back in the day called minding your own business. That's what everybody needs to remember. neighbors, if not friends. If you don't get along with them, at least be cordial with them. You do not know whether that guy standing next to you today that you cannot stand might end up having to save your life tomorrow. Or vice versa. It's time to start coexisting instead of nitpicking at everybody's faults or what you believe are their faults. Just because they don't believe like you, or they don't act like you, or their life didn't go like your life, or whatever. It's not your business. If you don't like me, I am what I am. I'm not changing for nobody. If you don't like me, take it or leave it. That's on you. It's no skin off my back. That's how I live my life. Either you like me or you don't, and I don't care. Because in the grand scheme of things, the only opinion that matters to a person is their own. Other people's opinions, okay, how fake of a person are you going to be if you're going to sit there and bow down to everybody else's opinion? If you're going to block away who you really are or what you really feel inside, just so that everybody else around you is happy because you're holding the same opinion as them. How fake are you at that point? Always be who you are. Don't let anybody else tell you you're somebody else. And don't pretend to be somebody or something else just to please anybody. Always be yourself. Be true to yourself 100%. Always. If you can't be happy with yourself and true to yourself to begin with, then what is wrong with you? Versus what you've seen labeled peaceful that Antifa and BLM did. I'm sorry, but when you are burning down buildings, breaking windows, beating people up and hospitalizing people and killing people, that is not peaceful. That is not peaceful. What Antifa and BLM did was not peaceful. In other words, they violated the law. Their protest was not a protest, it was a riot. And as such, does not fall under any protection of the Constitution. Y'all are so upset that we showed the world what peaceful protesting really is. So you're going to try to make us all criminals. You're going to try to paint us all as terrorists so that we get locked away or ignored or diminished. Yeah, you're not going to succeed. You may feel like you're doing good. You are part of the problem. If you're going to nitpick and try to show people and prove to people that this person is bad or that person is bad or this other person is this, even if the stuff that you saw or heard was complete. What they did with me, they faked a video They took little bits of what I said out of a long video, and little bits of what sounds were made by other people and things out of a long video. They took little bits here and there, put it all together in one video, and sent it to the FBI and said, look at this guy. Guess what? They got nothing. Even the FBI knows. Even the FBI knows now that that video that they looked at was completely fake, simply because of the fact I pointed them to the original live stream and said, watch the whole thing, and then see where that all came from. But it still doesn't stop them from crawling up my butthole. You want to destroy a peaceful movement? Sorry, there is something wrong with you mentally if that's what if that's your goal. We don't talk about gray anything in this chat. We do not talk about gray anything here. You know what? My wife may believe what the FBI is telling her, but then she turns around and realizes it was impossible because, first of all, that wasn't our car that she saw in the video they gave her. Second of all, I have a federal log. I have an electronic log that proves exactly where I was. Several hundred miles away in a different state. Not out with you. Liberal bastards. Too stupid for their own good. stuff that they tried to accuse me of in the first place was true, do you think I would still be driving around the country in my semi-truck free, especially after having been home this last weekend? Not to mention, if the FBI were really doing their job, hello, I've got a GPS tracked job that I do, right? I'm always GPS tracked. All they have to do is go and find my GPS tracking and see exactly where I am at all times, and they can get me anywhere, anytime. They have nothing. They don't have anything. They will never have anything because I have nothing to hide. Seriously. God. Oh boy, we're slowing down and getting heavy. Alright. I can barely see the chat. The phone must have got hot. Must be warming up, so gotta change the AC vent. Virtual, I tend to agree with you. I tend to agree with you on that one. Yeah, no, we don't talk about any of the other wolves in here. I'm sorry. That's not going to happen. Unlike the other wolves, I would like to portray myself and be, this is my firm belief, you know, I'm turning the other cheek, I'm being the better man because I'm not chitter-chattering about the other person. I'm not making up falsehoods and doing anything I can to disparage and attack the other person. And I sure am not encouraging my viewers to go out there and try to assault that person out there on the open road when they see him, because that's already happened to me a couple of times. So I'm not going to get into I'm not going to play their game. Let them be. We just don't talk about them here. The public arena is no place to solve your issues. And buddy, there's a lot of issues there. Up and point out where it's wrong. You know what? And if anybody really wants to know, yeah, sure, I'm a hater. I'm an equal opportunity hater. I hate everybody. People suck. You know? Really. You could have a best friend for 30, 40 years, and then one day that best friend comes and stabs you in the back over something petty. And you know what's really stupid is your own family, your own blood is going to be more apt to stab you in the back faster than anybody else that you know in your life. That's a proven fact. If you haven't been on the planet for at least 30 years or so, you haven't figured that out yet. specific trucking company in order to use their DOT numbers so that I can haul the freight and make the money, I choose to do that. If I choose to terminate my contract for any reason whatsoever, I can do that too. I terminated my contract with cause. I never terminate a contract without cause. And I don't have anything to hide. Matter of fact, every contract I've ever terminated in my life, I got why I terminated and exactly what the cause was. I've got all the documentation. Those other people say that I terminated a contract with, I'm good. And I would stand up perfectly clear in a court of law. Now moving forward, sorry, whoever lives in Nampa. We got a little distracted and drove right through. I didn't see your name pop up anywhere saying, hi, I'm here. So I didn't get to blow my air horn for you. Or my train horn. I've actually taken a day and been playing around in this little water park here with the go-karts and everything here several years back. It's a great little place. Roaring Springs Water Park over here in Meridian, Idaho. Matter of fact, while I was here, I was staying at that Quality Inn right over there. And back then, I was doing some work inventorying and carrying products from one Home Depot to another all over the Northwest. It was a long time ago though. Vertical View. That must be, yep, that is. It's a rock climbing place, huh? Climbing, yoga, and fitness. That's a brand new building, by the way. That wasn't here a few months ago. You know, people really need to investigate, do their own research on everything in their lives. Whether it's the type of foods that they're going to be eating, or the type of exercise that works best for them, or the type of job they want to work, or the type of house they want to have, or, you know, read into everything before you just buy into it. And that doesn't just include products or your lifestyle or anything. That is everything. That's what politicians you're going to vote for. Stop voting right there. Stop voting for anybody that has had that seat for longer than 2 years. That's another problem. You know, do your research into every candidate, and it doesn't matter what party they claim to be under. Whichever candidate fits best with your ideals, your views, your beliefs, and has a track record to back it up, decide whether it's good or bad for you. In other words, don't just vote. Vote educated. Know what you're voting for. You know, put the keyboard down. If you've got an issue in your neighborhood or in your city or in your state or in your county, whatever, if you have an issue that you do not agree with whatsoever, put the keyboard down instead of trying to make everybody see your point of view, because everybody that has your point of view already thinks the same way you do. Group up with them in your local area. Get out to your city hall, your school board meetings. Get out to your county seats. Get out there. Be seen, be heard, be vocal, be loud, be peaceful. But demand what is right. Just do it peacefully. Decide to join any one particular group, make sure you do your research on that group before you do. Because you might find something that you don't like. And well, you know, if you find it out ahead of time, then you decide not to go to that group. But if you didn't, and you find out later, now you're stuck in that group wondering, what the did I just do? Big thing is, for what is going on now, do not even bother calling your representatives. Don't call them. Don't write them. Don't do anything. Right? Because they are not listening to you. They are ignoring you. They don't even bother to read your letters or your emails or your texts or your tweets. They don't care because you're not the one putting the money in their pocket. Big lobbyists and the big companies and the big pharma, those are the ones that are putting the money in their pocket. That's who they're listening to. That's who they're making their votes based on. So if you want to be part of the change that needs to happen, you need to get up, put the keyboard down, get out, and be seen, be heard, be loud, and be peaceful. And do it at your city, do it at your city halls, do it at your school boards, do it at your county seats, do it at your state houses, but be out there and be active. Because the only people that are left that have not woken up yet, that do not see what is going on, are the ones that will never wake up until afterwards. Just like the people after World War II, so many people were like, how did we let this happen? How did we not see this coming? Well, hey, there was a ton of people just like me right now that were out there telling you, this is happening, this is coming, this is here now. And you aren't listening to us, right? You're still asleep. You refused to wake up. Well, those people didn't wake up until afterwards. And then they're like, well, how did this happen? After all the truth came out, after the fact, right? That's what we're sitting in today, right now. So now is no longer the time for keyboard warrior. Now is the time to be active. Peacefully active. Now is the time. If you can't get out and be active in a protest of some kind, or a movement, or a rally, or whatever, if for some reason you cannot be out there and active for that, at the very least, you can host. You can host a barbecue or a picnic or a neighborhood picnic, and get the information out to everybody. You know, host an event. Open up your doors to your neighbors. Talk to your neighbors. When was the last time you talked to your neighbor? Do you even know how your neighbor has been doing over the last 2 years? How did they fare through COVID crap? You know? What do you know? The way the information spreads is person to person. If you're there talking to that person in face to face, it's easier to get the message out that way. People tend to just ignore stuff that was broadcast out there on the internet through the keyboard. You know, because you can't believe a thing you see on there anymore. Some of it may be true, some of it may not. Some of it may be partially true. Some of it may be complete BS. You don't know, because for every piece of information that gets put on the internet, there's another piece of information that says exactly the contrary now. So there's nothing to believe in the internet anymore. Trust me, they'd be in some trouble, because I would not be cooperating with anything they're doing. Interested in what's constitutional. Sorry, I'm not a greedy you-know-what. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it to make sure people hear the truth, see the truth, make people think. Make people do the research on their own. Make people learn how to properly vote instead of just slice it down one party line. Because to tell you the truth, in all reality, there are no parties. It's all one agenda. Does not matter if it's left or right. They're all pushing one agenda. I mean, isn't it interesting that when the left side has control, they can't seem to get anything really passed. And when the right side has control, they can't seem to get anything really passed. But when that is happening, they're also getting certain things passed that just make it worse and worse for the American citizen. They're more about beating us down and making us less than minimum wage, no matter what kind of job we work. They're more about taxing the crap out of us and sitting fat on the hog off of the money they taxed out of us, because they take it and they launder it in places like the Ukraine and then put it back in their own bank accounts. What do you think happened to that $70 billion that they're sending to the Ukraine? I guarantee you it's going to get washed and washed and washed, and it will slowly start coming back into the politicians' bank accounts. Over the next 10 years, you're going to see their net worth and their bank accounts skyrocket from that $70 billion that was sent over, just like it always has every time. Besides, if I tried to run for Senate and Congress, I guarantee the powers that are in control right now would be doing anything and everything they could to keep me out of it, including making sure that some stupid, dumb, drunk, idiot charges were to suddenly surface somewhere. I've never been charged. Thank you very much. It'll never happen. But of course, they'll be able to sit there and pay somebody to come out and say that something did happen. Oh yeah, and we've seen that before. Look what they did to Clarence Thomas. Look what they did to Kavanaugh. Look what they were trying to do to was it Amy Coney Barrett? It does not matter who you are. If they don't want you in there, if they don't like you, if you do not fit their agenda, they will throw everything they can at you, even if it's completely 100% false and made up. And now, the problem is now it's not just sticking to the political arena. Now, it's delving into everyday citizens' lives. Because now, any word you say can now possibly turn you Constitution was written to protect us from the government, not the government from us. That Constitution was written in such a way that changing anything that was originally in it in any way, shape, or form, or adding laws against certain things that were on it in any way, as such, are illegal properly. It's like, you've got the Second Amendment, you know, these rights shall not be infringed, right? Well, I'm allowed to bear arms. Arms, period. All arms, all, no matter what kind. I'm allowed to do that. They have no right to regulate it. They have no right to say I can own these kind, but not those kind. They have no right to tell somebody that they can't even have any, no matter what that person did. Every single law and restriction and rule that they have placed on Second Amendment items, every single thing that they have done after the Second Amendment was written is an infringement. Therefore, it is because it 100% goes against the Constitution, right? Well, how many more times? It's not just the Second Amendment. It's the First Amendment. It's the Third Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment. I mean, seriously. Seriously. How often do you see, like, there's some kind of criminal investigation, and it turns out the guy's innocent in the long run, but say there's a criminal investigation, and they come to this guy's house, and they convince this guy's wife of all these things, and get that wife to start saying, okay, I agree with this, I agree with that, this is true, that is true. Hello, what about the Fifth Amendment? They're not allowed, they are not allowed to have a spouse violate your Fifth Amendment right. They're not allowed to do that, but they do it anyway. Property without a warrant, and they can't get a warrant without probable cause. Guess what? They do it every day. Every day. Just like when the FBI showed up at my place. As soon as they went inside that gate, they were trespassing. They were on property without a warrant and without probable cause. Government and the people in control and the people running the agenda, they do not care anything that Constitution says. They don't care about a word in it at all. That is why everyone in this country needs to take any single politician that has been in their seat for more than 2 years, or not 2 years, but 2 terms. 2 terms. If they've been in longer than 2 terms, do not vote for them again. Don't vote for them again, unless they're running for a completely different seat. 2 terms. That would be if everybody in the country started doing that and only voting for people who had less than 2 terms, and that's one thing that would start helping clean the mess up. Another thing that'll start helping clean the mess up is research who you're voting for. Do the party that you have been told that you fit into. You know? Seriously. Research the candidates. Research the topics that you need to vote on. Research everything. Vote educated. Make an educated vote and choose what you feel is best for you, not what somebody else tells you is best for you. Good, I don't have to go in. I mean, out there and ask the questions. Get out there and investigate that person. Get out there, find out everything you can about them. What did they vote on? What did they not vote on? What did they say yes to? What did they say no to? You know, what have they done in their lives? What have they done with their career? What kind of person are they in real life? You know, what kind of values do they hold? What do they support? What do they back? If all of that together matches closely to what you believe in yourself, with all of your different beliefs and all of your different wants and wishes for the future, then that's the person you vote for. But if it doesn't really mesh up with you, even though that person was supposedly part of your party, or you were told by the people you like that that's the person you need to vote for, but you really don't like the things that that person did because you did the research, then don't vote for them. Stop being led around like a sheep. Stop. Be educated. I've seen throughout my entire life. I grew up in states that are close to California. Okay, I grew up in Washington State. Washington State was pretty decent back in the day when I was younger, right? Well, it seemed like every time California went and passed some stupid, crazy stuff, about within the next 5 years, all of that stuff is really hitting that state hard now, right? All the new regulations and all the new taxes that came with it and all the new everything that came with it had made people's lives harder. It drove the cost of living up, it drove the cost of food up, it drove the rent up, it drove everything up, right? It made it harder for people to live. Well, those people that had voted for those things in the first place, they couldn't live there anymore. They could not afford to stay. So they turn around and they move out to another state. Problem is, they continue voting the same way they voted before and bring those same things into the state they'd left. And they ran from that state because of those things. Why in the world do you keep voting for the same garbage? Insanity. The definition of insanity is continually repeating the same thing over and over and over, yet expect it's never going to happen. If you had to run away from a state because of the way it was going and you were part of the problem voting for those things in the first place, you should never vote for those same things again, no matter how they're displayed to you in the new state. But they don't let that tell you how you should be. Start looking for yourself. Shed the sheep's wool and put on the wolf skin. Become the wolf. Stop being a sheep. There is no actual party. Everybody says, oh, it's a two-party system. It's a two-party system. No, there is no party. There is only the agenda. There's only the agenda. Doesn't matter which side you vote for. They're all pushing one agenda. And the way to fix that is to make sure that nobody has held a seat for more than 2 terms. So these 40, 50, 60-year career politicians, that needs to go. We originally we had 2-year term limits for them. They could only sit for 2 terms, right? Originally, Senate and Congress could only hold the seat. One person could only hold the seat for 2 terms. Somewhere along the line, the Congress and the Senate got together and went into cahoots with each other and decided to write their own the 2-term limit. They made it so that they could sit in that seat permanently if they want to. They didn't leave that up to the people to vote for. They did it themselves. Just like what they do with their own paycheck. They vote on their own paycheck. They decide how much money they're going to make per year for being a congressman or a senator. They don't leave that up to the people to decide. They don't put it out there for the people to vote on. Wouldn't you love to be able to walk in and tell your boss, hey, you know, I know you've been paying me $15 an hour, but yeah, no, now you're paying me $38 an hour. Wouldn't you love to be able to walk in and tell your boss that and get away with it? Because that's what they're doing. They're looking you straight in the face and telling you, yeah, okay, we used to get paid $25,000 a year for doing this, but now you have to pay us $180,000 a year to do this. They're looking you straight in the face. You are their boss. They work for us. They're looking you straight in the face and telling you, boom, here's the middle finger, here's what you're going to pay me to do this. And you know what? 90% of the time, they're not doing anything anyway because they're tabling bills. They're not voting on things. They're setting things aside. They're taking vacations. They're not there to vote. Or, you know, only when it's something that's going to put money in their pocket are they ever there. It's time to end it, and it's time to stop voting for anybody that's been in for longer than 2 terms. That is my main message. I'm gonna move my phone here for a minute and see if I can't cool it down a little bit faster so that I can actually read the comment screens, because the screen is just dim enough I can't read them. I do see preach it, but that's a very small word and it's sitting down in the dark area of the median, in the median of the video, you know, the median between the lanes. It's the only reason I can see it and agree. I wish I could do something about the text and make it always visible, no matter what the light, no matter what the backlighting is. You know, if you're part of a peaceful movement moving forward, more power to you. I hope you succeed. But be aware, be very aware of the people controlling the agenda right now. If you are going against their agenda, even though you are a peaceful movement, they will try to pick and tear you apart, your whole movement. They will go after each and every single person individually. They'll go to their families. They'll go to their children. They'll even threaten their children. Been there, done that. Had it happen. you and say, and they'll make stuff up just to make sure that you are not heard. Just like, you know, you all in here, you've heard about the People's Convoy, you watch the live streams and everything, but you can walk around the town you live in right now, and I guarantee you, most of the people in your town never heard a word about it because it was never put on the TV. It was never put on mainstream media news because the government and the people that are in control of the agenda turned around and told all of those news stations not to cover it at all. They did not want people in this country knowing because they saw how big we were. They saw how popular it was becoming right from the beginning. And they saw how quickly it could become a major thing. So they did everything they could to squash it, and in a lot of ways they succeeded. So be prepared for that. So adamant about the left side, voting, always voting nothing but left, nothing but left. Democrat. If it wasn't Democrat, she wouldn't vote for it. Well, they turned around and they voted for Biden. Even though they had said, you know, I don't really like him. He can't form sentences properly. He's always, I think he's got dementia. I really wish I had a different candidate to vote for. Well, you did. You had plenty of other candidates to vote for. You could have even wrote one in if you wanted to. But the fact remains, you voted for it. Right? So, not too long ago, she calls me up. She asks me, you know, we get into this discussion, and somewhere along the line, she says, you know, I'm really sorry. I made a huge, huge mistake when I voted for Biden. And I said, well, not really liking the Bidening now, are you? Buyer's remorse, eh? And we're talking about a person who practically wrote me out of her life simply because I did not believe in the same kind of politics that she does. It had nothing to do with whether I voted for Trump or not. It had to do with what I believe in about politics. I believe 100% constitutional, period. That's it. Ah, JN's in here. Good. Nice to see you, Joe. Nice to see you, Joe. So, if it's not constitutional, right? That's how I believe. That's what I use my head to go for. That's what I think about when I'm looking at voting for X candidate or X proposition. If it's constitutional, is it constitutional or is it not? You know, does that person that I'm going to vote for, do they have a record of voting against stuff that is constitutional? Do they have a record of violating the Constitution in certain ways? You know, I really dig deep into that stuff, and that's why I vote for who I vote for. Okay? And who I vote for is nobody else's business, really. That's my business. The thing is, people need to be educated before they vote, instead of just blindly picking who your party says that has to be. It's time to put an end to the parties. It's time to vote for people solely on their record. That's one. And two, like I said, no more than 2 terms. If they've been in for 2 terms, they don't need another seat. Not, at least not. So if they were in Congress for 2 terms, they don't need to be in Congress again. If they were in Senate for 2 terms, they don't need to be in Senate again. If they were in the City Council for 2 terms, they don't need to be in the City Council anymore. But by all means, go ahead. You can go ahead and do 2 terms in the city council, and then 2 terms at a county seat, and then 2 terms at a state seat. Yeah, go ahead and do it that way. Progress your way up to being a president. Sure, do that, but no more than 2 terms per seat. You want to help steer the ship around. That's a start. Another warning. I'm going to give a warning out to everybody here. If the fuel prices go up somewhere between another 40 cents to $1, anywhere within the next 40 cents to $1, every semi-truck in this country will most likely end up parking, which means you will run out of supplies. All your grocery stores will go empty because we cannot afford to run with prices that high. I'm already having to take loads on a regular basis where it costs me more to haul the load than what I'm making because of the fuel price. If it gets any higher, I will have no way to stay in business. So stock up. Make sure you are stocked up, and make sure you're stocked up for at least 2 to 3 years worth. Because if you're not, well, gee, we still got another 2 years of the Bidening. Took out student loans, it's your responsibility to pay them, no one else's. It is not anybody else's responsibility to pay your debt. You signed on the dotted line. You are responsible. Do you seriously think that I should be allowed to go out and say, okay, I want that mansion right there. I'm going to sign on the dotted line, and then one day when I can't afford that mansion anymore, responsibility to pay for it for me? A year after I bought it, I can no longer make the payments. Is it anybody else's responsibility to pay for that car? No, it's not. You made the decision to go to college. You made the decision in what it was you were going to study. You made the decision in what kind of career you were going to go for. You made the decision to sign on the dotted line for a student loan when you had in the first place. Loan to somebody who has little to no credit, does not have a job, or even if they do, it's a very minor job and cannot afford the cost of those classes. And those classes should never cost as much as they do. The whole system is rigged. The problem is you are still falling into the trap of signing on that stupid line, and you are the one that is responsible for that, nobody else. You're sitting there saying, okay, I'm going to become a doctor. I'm going to go to med school. I'm going to sign on this little line here and get me these student loans here that are so astronomically high because, of course, it's med school. And then when I get out of med school and I'm only being paid so much and I can't pay for the debt that I incurred under the student loans, I'm going to turn around and make that groceries. Make him pay for my that I took out. Where is that? How is that person that's sitting there bagging groceries for a living, how is that his responsibility? It's not. It's yours 100%. You signed the line. You are the one that has to pay it, no one else. Besides, out there that you do not even have to go to college for. Maybe you have to go to a trade school, and that's not even that expensive. It's cheap compared to college. Trade schools are more beneficial for your future than any college education, at least from what I have seen, because you get trained hands-on in a skill that is a job that is still always be a thing afterwards. So you're not studying, and then when you graduate that particular, but now you have $180,000 or $500,000 or $1 million worth of debt. Guess what? You made the mistake. You chose a profession that was a come and go profession, which almost all of the stuff that is taught in colleges today is a come and go profession. Almost all. I mean, yeah, you've got dentistry and you've got doctors and all kinds of different doctors. You've got certain things, little things, you know. Very few of the actual careers that you could possibly college for. Always be. Very few of them will ever pay you what you end up owing by the time you're done getting through college. But you go to a trade school, you pay a few $1,000s out of pocket, you end up trained in that profession. Say it's being a roofer, or being a plumber, or being an electrician, or being a flight attendant, or whatever. It is a job that will always be there, because everybody is always going to need their roof redone. Everybody's always going to have a house built. Everybody's always going to have some plumbing done, because not everybody knows how to plumb their own houses. Those are careers that you can stake into and make better money than somebody that just came out of college with $1 million worth of debt trying to be a doctor. Student debt, really. You make the debt, you lie in it, right? On that line, it's your responsibility, not mine. Oh, Jen. Ended up banning one of them. I don't know if I got them all. Buffering now because my signal shows it's really, really weak. It's kind of funny when there's 6 cell towers on this hill up to the left. There are 6 cell towers up there, and I've got almost no signal. So those people back to be we're losing control, right? Okay. Well, now they had to figure out how to really beat up America to put them back under control. Well, how do you do that? You infiltrate over many, many, many years. You take a look at the fact that, you know, we went to the moon. We went to the moon. We put men on the moon. We put men on the moon. Instead of continuing to go out and explore and push the limits of space, we decided to just put up spy in orbit. We decided it was better just to put up spy devices and spy on our own people than to actually find out what was out there in space. Why? There's part of the agenda. They killed that, right? They made it so we never went back to the moon. They made it so that we don't go to the... We could have literally had colonies living on Mars in artificial housing right now, in artificial atmosphere. We could have. We could have had people outside of this solar system by now. But it didn't fit the agenda. We just... Or what is it they didn't want us to know? Right? Maybe there's a ton of different alien species out there, and they didn't want us to know that. Who knows, right? But that's not all. This agenda's been kicking a lot longer than even Kennedy. All of this agenda that's going right now, all of it, was sparked long before Kennedy was even, long before he was even born, let alone before he was assassinated. About greed, every bit of it. You know, he who dies with the most toys still dies. You know, people believe the moon landings were fake. Some don't. You know what? Those moon landings inspired an entire generation that had their hopes and dreams of being a future astronaut stolen from them. I grew up wanting to be an astronaut. I grew up wanting to go to the moon. I grew up wanting to go to Mars. I grew up dreaming about it. I grew up dreaming about visiting distant stars. Guess what? When they decided we were not ever going back to the moon back then, that killed it.